1-0. Oh, we did it. We went live right on time. Whoop, whoop. Good evening, Robert. How are you?
Hi, Paul. How are we doing, mate?
I'm all right, mate. We are still talking to ourselves, by the way, because there's nobody on the stream
Nobody
yet.
here yet. Do you know, I actually
No.
did it. Something occurred to me earlier on. Because I think I was talking to Chris. I was sending my questions to Chris and going through them just to check they're not too complicated, as you'll see in a short time. They're really
Right.
not. The explanation to one of the rounds is going to take a long time, but once everyone
Oh,
understands
God.
it's not as difficult as people think. And I realised I was talking about you on occasions, and I called you Benson, and I realised I don't really do that.
No, nor should you ever. But
No, but you do though. You call yourself that. You will put like Benson's prediction quiz or something.
true.
And
Only when
and
I'm
a lot
feeling.
of people call you, but lots of people call you that. But I don't. And I've never really thought about it. But I was like, I never actually call him Benson.
Right, try it on for size. It can't. Good evening, everyone. We've got an audience now. We've got 20 odd people watching us. Let's see. That's
20
not
odd
bad for this.
people.
20 odd people.
There's
20
14
odd
normal
ones.
people.
20 odd ones and Steve Cox. So, hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Let's see. Thank you very much, first of all, those that are here already, for joining us at the earlier time. It's entirely my fault, completely and utterly my fault, in that I somehow, even in the midst of a global lockdown, managed to double book myself socially.
No, can I just say, no. I don't think that's it is your fault, but it's your fault for marrying above yourself.
Yeah.
That's what it is, because your wife has done something nice for you.
I know.
That's what's happened. It's a late. I'm going to spoil this. It's a late birthday present for Paul tonight that Sally, his wife, has laid on for him. But she's done it, planned it, and then he forgot. And so a couple of days ago, was like, oh shit, 2 things on a Friday. So because he's married above himself, we have to be early tonight. That's why.
Yeah, soz, guys. Otherwise, the wrath of Mrs. Benson would come down on all of us, and this would be the last live Hooked On quiz with my presence. It'd be just down to Rob and Chris, which would be lovely and a nice change. But I do kind of like this, so none of us want that, do we?
Do you know what? Is this a good time as people start to arrive and we bed everyone in? This is the kind of hi, good evening, have a piece of cheese and pineapple on a stick phase of the quiz.
Indeed.
And a lot of the people that are arriving are people we're familiar with and similar names that come back every week. Hello, everyone. It's not really nice to have you, genuinely. We're thinking about moving this away from Friday night at some point, possibly sooner rather than later, possibly post-lockdown, whenever that may finish. But we're thinking about moving it from a Friday. It would be interesting to know, as a bit of a show of hands, do you like Friday? Do you dislike Friday? Would you rather we changed in the future? What's a good day? You don't have to tell us right now.
And we're talking about normal life, not lockdown life. Like when what is convenient in the run-of-mill of things.
Things aren't going to go back to normal straight away, but assuming everything went back to normal, say in July, what would be good? Would you like it to be Sunday night in the build up to a pay-per-view? Would you like Tuesday night because you don't do anything that time? Do you like it on a Friday? We're kind of thinking that once life goes back to normal a wee bit, pubs are open, etc. People have got things to do on a Friday night, date night, etc. So we're thinking about another night of the week, but we don't really know what's best. So
this was just going to be a lockdown thing. This was going to be 8 weeks, all good, right? We're fine, but we quite enjoy it, don't we?
Yeah, well, I do. I don't know if our listeners do. No, they must do because they keep coming back, don't they?
Some of them keep coming back, the madheads. But anyway, here we go. So, guys, we're just 2 minutes away. So, for those new, I haven't seen any new people on the stream yet, but there may be a few. Hello, if it's your first time. We'll be kicking off at 7 on the dot. What we'll do is we'll run through the rules very quickly. Not the rules as such, but the instructions for entering for those that haven't done this before. And then we will get cracking with the quiz itself at 7:05, aiming to be done by about 8:15. So we should leave you off on your merry way to enjoy your lockdown Friday nights after that. So what's Adam's? Adam's, I don't mind any. Wednesday evening will be ideal to get through the middle. I'm thinking similar. I'm thinking Wednesdays or Sundays. One of the two. So Sunday nights are traditionally good for a nice little social evening, but we'll test the waters when the time comes. But we're in no massive rush. But what we want to do is find a night and move over to that night that we can move there permanently. So
I quite like a Sunday. There's something quite wrestling about Sunday, isn't there? Do you know what I mean?
Quizzy. Pub quiz but Sunday's a good night for a pub quiz, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose so. I've in my life, pub quiz night has always really been Monday, but I suppose it's been used to one pub for 30 odd years. It's always been the same Monday. So,
What happens when you live in a pub, Rob?
well, yeah, as I used to, yes.
Indeed. So we are joined tonight, as always, by our wonderful referee and assistant glamour, Chris Hatch. We're not going to bring him in yet, Rob. You just
I don't bring him in. No.
But he's going to be tallying up your scores and whatever else. So we'll bring him in at 7 o'clock when we explain through the rules. We'll say a quick hello. In fact, it's 7 o'clock now, Rob. So let's bring him in. Chris, welcome to the Love Parade. Hello, mate.
How it's Friday. It's 7 o'clock. He's still number one. How
are we doing, everyone? All right?
Yes, mate. We're good. We are very well. Thank you. Thanks for joining us again tonight. Awesome sauce. Rob, do you want to just run through the rules while I flick over the banners, mate? I'm feeling incapable of doing two things at once tonight. No? Oh, well, let's get rid of you then. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, that's fine. I'm happy to do the rules. So what we're going to do, I think most of you have been here for most of these quizzes already, but if you are new or you have forgotten, we're going to do 20 questions. Paul is going to do 10. I'm going to do 10. We don't know each other's questions, although we're not really eligible for the overall scores. It's just for the slight, dare I call it, entertainment value of the evening. So Paul will do 5, then I'll do 5, and then we'll do the same again up to 20. What we want you to do is send in your answers via direct message on the Messenger and Facebook for Hooked on Wrestling. So send it to Hooked on Wrestling via is a DM the technical term for Facebook? I don't know.
I believe it is,
whatever the private message is for Facebook, send that into the Hooked on Wrestling account. Most importantly, don't put it in the live comments, whether you're watching on Facebook Live or YouTube Live. Don't put it in the live comments because clearly everyone else can then see your answer. By sending it in, Chris, who's our referee on screen, will be tallying all of the answers. Well, he'll be looking at all the answers as they come in. And his most important job is to work out the 3 quickest answers because they will get bonus points for being the quickest. So at the end of the night, your total score will be the amount you got right plus the amount of bonus points for getting in quickly. Twofold reason. One, to add a little extra element to the game, and also we can't see you all. You could be Googling really quickly, but obviously if you're getting it very, very fast, we know that you're not cheating because you just literally couldn't type that quick. At the end of the day, don't cheat because it's not for anything. It's just for a bit of fun, a little bit of kudos, and a bit of a mess around to entertain you on a Friday night. So that's the rules in short, really. We'll do the explanations of what we normally tend to theme our little our rounds. Mine are not quite so obtuse as they have been over the last few weeks. It's a bit more upfront what my rounds are tonight. Don't know what Paul's going to be doing, but he'll lead us off in due course. And I think that covers everything. Oh, just a couple of things to remember. Please put the number of the question when you send it in. So if it's question 4, write 4 and then your answer. You know, whoever it might be, Alex the Pug, Porto, or whoever it is as your answer to number 4. Make sure you do that when you send it in, and please only send in your answers once. So if you send in the answer and your first answer is Survivor Series 92, and then you panic and you then type in TNA Hard Justice 09, and then you whack that in. We're only going to take your first answer. So whatever it may be. Does that cover it all quick? Because most of these rules are really for Chris's benefit, so he can make it easy. Because quite frankly, Paul and I have got the easy job. We've come up with the questions. We sit on here and piss around for an hour, and Chris does all the work in working out who's done what. So he's the one that's in the background. But that's a ref's life, Chris, unfortunately, isn't it? You're the third man that goes unnoticed. That's the thing, isn't it?
Very used to it by now. But yeah, you've covered everything with that. So yeah, just good luck for everyone. Ready?
Indeed.
Are we ready?
I am.
Or should I say
5 past yet? I don't know if you're going to wait until exactly.
I'm going to wait till 5 past. I'm going to wait till 5 past because we advertise it as 5 past. So we might have some stragglers. We might have some people still in the bog or buying some pork scratchings from our
what you've got,
hypothetical
Paul,
pub.
Is you've got a minute to plug the website.
Oh, yes, I have. hookedonwrestling.co.uk. Simple as that. We are the latest and greatest, I believe, news and feature website in wrestling. We are absolutely flying. People are clearly enjoying what they see. If you want to keep up to date with everything that's going on in wrestling and you love us to bits like you must do to spend an hour on a Friday night with us, check out hookedonwrestling.co.uk. Bookmark it, share it, tag it, shout it from the rooftops. It's going to be amazing. We're loving doing it. And I can't believe how many people are looking at it every day already. Rob, I showed you the figures earlier, didn't I? And they're pretty astounding for 2.5 weeks in.
Yeah,
long may it continue.
Yeah, but I'm officially published on the website now. I'm officially
As of
part
today.
of it. I did my first story this morning because
Rob was part of the AEW media call last night.
Yeah, they didn't ask me. I didn't get to ask a question.
No.
The smallest little tin pot radio station in arsewiped Mississippi got to ask questions, but not me.
But we did. Unfortunately, it was a communication snafu on the Hooked On side, and we ended up one of our contributors ended up asking a rather inane but interesting question.
No, it wasn't inane. It wasn't inane. It was just dull.
And we had a really killer question lined up, and we didn't get it. But hey, look,
it was a good question.
Right, eyes down, Chris. We're going to lose you for a second, my friend. Eyes on the prize. See you in a bit, and we'll get cracking with the quiz, shall we? We need a sound effect for that. Shall I just steal it from Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Do 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 do. Does that sound work?
Well, speaking of sound effects, we did get praised for the sound effects on the podcast this week.
We did. That's a first.
I tell you, there's a story to it because I intended to make a little sound thing for the podcast, and in the end, it was either a combination of not finding the right things, couldn't get it as I wanted it to, etc. And I ended up not doing it. And then we still had someone say, "I love the sound effects," and then you went, "Well, I can't take any credit." And I'm like, "Did I actually do that? Did I do it? Did I dream it?" But I think, and she knows who she was that said, "Well done for it," and she's in the room. But I think she just meant our singing. So you know who you are that complimented us on our sound effects on the podcast. So can you confirm, did you just mean me and Paul singing the theme tunes? Or did
I
do something in my dreams? Because I meant to do something.
Without further ado, let's crack on now. In tribute to me cocking up the time and cocking up the diary and changing the time of the of this event at very late notice, my first 5 questions are under the heading card subject to change, and we're going to do 5 questions about when wrestling cards obviously, and opponents and wrestlers were changed at very short notice.
Nice.
Let's kick off, as is traditional, with question 1. So what we'll do is, remember, answer on DM as quick as you can. Me and Rob will give a little chit chat to give you time to answer, and then Rob will give his answer, and then we'll go through and so on and so forth. So, Rob and the world. No Way Out of Texas, 1998. Stone Cold Steve Austin, Owen Hart, Cactus Jack, and Chainsaw Charlie were due to face Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and the New Age Outlaws. But who replaced Shawn Michaels in that match? Who replaced Shawn Michaels? He pulled out. It's really funny. He injured his back, didn't he, at the Royal Rumble against The Undertaker, which obviously led to his retirement, but they decided not to announce his replacement till the night of the pay-per-view.
I think I remember this.
Canny good of them, wasn't it?
I think I can remember. So I'll pause for a second. This is where you should be firing in your answers now, sending it in via DM. Again, make sure you don't put it in the room. We'll give it a few seconds and I'll give my answer. You can still answer after I've done mine. I'm not necessarily right, but I will have a go. I've had a couple of up and down weeks on this. I've had a couple where I got 9 out of 10 and a couple where I got about 4 or 5.
When you say you've had a couple of up and down weeks, I do believe I've beaten you the last 2.
Oh, I don't think it's a competition, is it?
Oh, I've been counting.
Well, fine. But we don't answer the same question, so it's not a fair fight.
Fair enough.
If I ask more difficult questions than you, then
no, you're absolutely right. And Malcolm's here. Malcolm has just arrived. Better late than never, my friend. Hello, Malcolm. It's we're doing a question all about cards subject to change. We're doing 5 questions on that. I think we've given them enough time to answer. So, yeah, Rob, what's your answer to question 1?
Oh, well, there's always the potential for when I answer some of these, I'm thinking of another incident. I sometimes will transpose them, but there's definitely around about that era, there was a surprise partner, and it turned out to be Savio Vega.
Savio Vega is your answer.
So I'm going to say Savio Vega.
Dan, it's funny you should mention us competing Edge and Christian style. We have got an idea in exactly that vein, and we might talk about it later in this podcast when we're killing some time, but it doesn't just involve Rob and I, it involves some contributions from a number of you guys as well. So we'll start fleshing out that. We haven't finalized it yet, but we'll sort of mention it earlier and go through it. So anyway, question 2. At which event and in which year, so I need the name of the pay-per-view and the year, which event and in which year did Mr. Perfect replace the Ultimate Warrior in a tag team match? At which event and in which year did Mr. Perfect replace the Ultimate Warrior in a tag team match?
Yep,
Rob's nodding. Rob knows this.
Yeah, I'm quite confident actually. You've given me a good. I didn't think I'd be very good on this round so far, but
it's funny actually. When I did the research,
quite happy with that.
I decided on the round, and it's actually most of the examples are fairly famous examples. There's not many, unless I was going really obscure. There's not many. In fact, speaking of that, it's hilarious. We do a weekly quiz on on our hookedonwrestling.co.uk site as well. It drops every Friday morning, and it's literally just a written quiz. It's a form to fill in and get on the leaderboard and such. Like we had like 250 entries last week. It's bonkers. But I asked Liam to set a round of questions this time because I was really busy and we were going back and forth and stuff. And I asked him to set
Liam's the editor, we should say.
The editor, sorry, the editor. And I asked him to set 5 questions on theme tunes because it was quite topical, and 3 of them were fine. But then he came up with 2 questions. One of them was, who sang Christian's theme tune when he went singles? And then the question after that was, who sang it after that when they did another version? I'm like, mate, I know we like to challenge them, but that's just absurd. So I nixed that, funnily enough. That was a bit too.
I wouldn't have a clue. Great. I love the track though. Love that.
Malcolm just wants us to repeat question 2. And the question is, at which event and in which year, so we need the name of the pay-per-view and the year, did Mr. Perfect replace the Ultimate Warrior in a tag team match? I'll just give it 10, 15 more seconds.
Yeah. Now I would tell a little story off the back of this, but I don't want to steal one of your other questions. So I'll just in case. So I will wait until we do the answers officially.
Steve Cox, by the way, has disqualified himself because he realised he can see all the answers coming in. He realised because Steve's got admin rights on the Hooks On page, and he can see all these DMs coming in. So, Rob, what's your answer to that one? I think it's a fairly easy one for you. That one, you seem to be quite confident.
Yeah, I was slightly worried about I got the year wrong, but it's I think it's Survivor Series 92.
Survivor Series 92. Interesting that you actually plucked that single pay-per-view out of thin air when we were doing when you were doing an example earlier. The example you were doing it, you said you could say Survivor Series 1992.
That's extraordinary, and genuinely, that sounds like a bit there, but I genuinely don't know.
But that's not, is it? Of all the let's give a little spoiler. He's right. Just a minute. And of all the pay-per-views he could have picked out, of all the years and all the pay-per-views, he picked the one pay-per-view that is an answer to one of my questions. That's scary, isn't it?
If your next question is about TNA Hard Justice 09, then you'll know I'm a psychic.
It is not, thankfully. No, question 3, in fact, is, and listen carefully, guys. At the same event in the following year, Mr. Perfect was himself replaced in a tag team match on the night of the show by the guy who he tagged with the year prior. Can you name any 2 of his 3 partners that night? So Mr. Perfect, the following year, so I've given it away, so this must be Survivor Series 1993. Mr. Perfect ducked out on the night of the match to be replaced by Macho Man Randy Savage. But who were the other 3 guys on the team?
Right, okay.
Who were the other 3? And I need 2 of those 3 to get the point.
Right, I know 1.
2 of the 3.
I know 1. That was the story I was going to tell.
A few people, by the way, have come in and said Macho Man, which is wrong because he was, like I say, he was the one that replaced him. So I need 2 of the 3 other partners. If you said Macho Man, you can have another go. You can have another bash at it.
To rework the question, essentially the question is name Macho Man's partners in his team at Survivor Series 93.
Correct.
Isn't it? Without the preamble.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. That was the story I was thinking of. I was going to go, you know what, the following year. And then I thought that might be his next question, and it was.
There you go.
But I can't think. I can only think of one of the answers. I've got a good guess of the second one.
There were
Survivor Series 93. Yeah. Okay. I think I've got. I've got one, and I've got a good guess at a second.
Well, let's give it another 30 seconds, and we'll let you give your guesses.
He pops up. He would pop up quite a few times in mystery partners or replacement things or whatever, wouldn't he?
Who? Savage? Kurt Hennig. Yeah, he was always there or thereabouts.
Surprise referees.
Do you want to chip in with your answer then, mate?
Well, it's definitely Razor Ramon. because he's the one that did the, he talks about his perfecto, my partner, perfecto. So, and of course, he was part of the match the year before, wasn't he?
Correct, he was, yeah. On the other side of the coin, yeah.
On the opponent alongside Flair. So I'm going to go for, so by that point, if Savage is on his team, Ramon is by that point a babyface. And I think when he became babyface, he was quite quickly aligned with Waltman. So I've got to say 2 out of the 3, right?
Yeah, you do.
Okay, well, I'll say Razor and the 1-2-3 Kid.
Okie doke.
And I don't know
the 1-2-3 Kid.
Just based on the fact that I know he won I don't have to give you a third one, so I'm not going to give a third one. I'm going to say Razor and 1-2-3 Kid.
Fine. Okay. Question 4. In the 2004 Royal Rumble, Mick Foley forced himself into the match to attack his rival, Randy Orton. But who did he ambush backstage in order to steal that spot? So Mick Foley entered himself into the Royal Rumble in 2004. If you remember, he attacked a guy backstage, and Steve Austin, with Foley off screen, Steve Austin's there going, God damn it, you're my guy down, you get in there. Or something of that ilk. I'm paraphrasing there.
Wait,
did you think Steve Austin was in the room? Did you thought Steve Austin was in the room?
I wasn't looking at the screen at the time. I assumed he just popped up.
Who was left lying to give Foley that spot?
Yeah, I think I'm quietly confident about this one as well. This is all going a bit too well.
I've really misjudged this, haven't I?
Well, no, not necessarily.
I'm making it too easy for you.
I might be getting them all wrong. But I think I remember that. I'm slightly worried I've remembered a different one. And again, I can think of that happening at 2 or 3 Rumbles. And in fact, someone I was going to say at one point was actually the recipient, was like in the Foley position, as it were. He attacked someone else and then came out one year. That's who I was going to say at first. So I've changed my mind away from that. But I do think I've got an answer, which I will be happy to give you at whatever point.
A couple of seconds.
Well, I will say, actually, is I'm going through my my list of potential topics on our podcast, and I do have in the future best surprise opponent or best surprise, very much along the line of what you're doing. Well, it's down as a topic in July if we want to have a little look at that. But obviously this is a very loose set of plans. So
plans are card subject to change, Rob.
Yeah.
Right. So, I think they've had enough time now. So do you want to give me your answer for question 4?
Yeah, I think it was test. I've got nothing really to back that up. I just think it was test.
Okay, fair dues. Right. Last question in my round, and then we'll go through the answers for said round. In 2006, The Undertaker was due to face the Great Khali in a Punjabi prison match. Khali was removed from the match due to elevated liver enzymes. Who replaced him?
I will say you're doing that and your little rabbit ears for your elevated liver enzymes. I have actually had that.
Yes, Rob. But did you and 2 colleagues all get it on the same weekend?
No, not true. But I'm not on steroids or anything like that, and I'm not saying that Great Khali was either. That's not what I'm saying. Definitely didn't say that, lawyers. But I did. I once got some tests back, and I was told I had elevated liver enzymes.
Well, you're in good company with, I believe, the Great Khali, Mark Henry, and Gregory Helms.
Yeah, what have we all got in common?
If memory serves, yeah.
Yeah. So it's who replaced Khali?
Who replaced Khali in the Punjabi prison match? I'm not asking you for you just this second, but have you got an answer to that?
Yeah, I have actually.
Wow. I think you're quite confident in all these, aren't you?
Yeah, well, basically, I mean, maybe I'm just better at 7 o'clock. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe I'm not very lucid by 8 o'clock.
So we're going to move it to 9:30 in future then.
Maybe if we start it about midday, I think I'll be absolutely perfect.
Go on then, give us an answer. What have you got?
Well, it's the Big Show, isn't it?
Nicely put. I'm not going to tell you, am I? I'm going to go through the answers first, and then we'll bring in Chris to see our bonus points. So, right, let's do it as quick as we can, because I think this is a round where there's been a lot of love. So, question number 1, No Way Out of Texas in 1998. Steve Austin, Owen Hart, Cactus Jack, and Chainsaw Charlie were due to face Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and the New Age Outlaws. But who replaced Shawn Michaels due to injury? You are absolutely right. It's Savio Vega.
Why on earth didn't they promote him ahead of time?
I don't know. He's a very credible replacement for Shawn Michaels.
The last minute buys they would have got. By the way, as solid as you like in the ring. That's why they used him.
But not quite a star. But the buy rate in Puerto Rico would have gone through the roof.
I went from 7 to 9.
There you go. Right, question 2. At which event and in which year did Mr. Perfect replace the Ultimate Warrior in a tag team match? Obviously, I've already given you this answer. It's Survivor Series 1992. God, I've got such a nostalgic, good feeling for that event, even though by all objective measures, it was absolutely shite.
Is that the first year where they did no Survivor Series matches?
They kind of did one. So there was no Survivor Series matches as you would remember, but there was a tag team match, which I believe was the Nasty Boys and the Natural Disasters against Money Inc. and the Beverly Brothers. Someone might correct me on that. But rather than being single elimination, if you pinned one of the team, the other member of the team had to leave as well.
The team went, right,
so it was essentially it was half an elimination match, I guess. So, but that was literally the only one. Everything else was, And I know the year before they did, they deviated a bit, didn't they? Because the year before they had Undertaker against Hulk Hogan for the title, which was the first singles match in Survivor Series history, and they also had a 3-on-3 due to Savage and Jake the Snake pulling out or being disqualified or whatever. But it was Natural Disasters and IRS against the Legion of Doom and the Big Boss Man. But this was you're right. This was the first one where it was driven by non-Survivor Series matches. And last one for a while, actually, because they went back to the majority for 93, 94, 95, 96.
Yeah.
97, 97 it changed. 97 it went back to a mixture.
I feel like it's one of those things, and of course they binned it, didn't they, for a little bit, brought it back, and so it's one of those things that people.
Oh no, they didn't bin it. They never binned Survivor Series. They threatened to, but it never happened.
Oh, is that right? I thought they binned it for at least a year.
No, they did, but it never did. So, question number 3, probably the one you were least confident on. At Survivor Series 93, Mr. Perfect was himself replacing a tag team match on the night of the show by the guy who he tagged with the year prior. Guys, anyone confident on this one, by the way? We're not seeing many comments at the minute, actually.
No, I was just going to say it's quite quiet in the comments.
It's gone quiet, hasn't it? Everyone's still not shaken off the Friday yet. Yeah. Who were 2 of his 3 partners? Right, okay, so Rob said Razor Ramon and the 1-2-3 Kid. He was absolutely right. Yeah, it's definitely Razor. It was the 1-2-3 Kid. So
Can I ever go at the third one?
Go for it, if you're quick.
Well, the only person I can think of, because I know that the Kid won the tag with him, I think it might be Marty Jannetty.
It is. You've taken my thunder a little bit because I wanted to do the it's Marty Jannetty line from.
Well, you can still do it.
Where was that? In fact, here's a bonus question, guys. In the comments, where did that line of commentary come from? It's Marty Jannetty. I think we can guess who spoke that line. Question number 4.
Is there not a bonus question on?
There's not a bonus one. It's just don't want to know. Don't want to know. I've seen what Marty's been up to this week. Let's not discuss that. Question number 4. In 2004 Royal Rumble, Mick Foley forced himself into the match, but who did he ambush backstage to steal the spot? It was indeed Test. Correct. It was Test. And
absolutely fantastic Rumble moment, by the way.
Oh, amazing Rumble!
Brilliant Rumble moment, and we will do Rumble again on the podcast. We'll do best Rumble moments. We will in January when the Royal Rumble comes up, and that is absolutely going to be in the conversation. I love that story with Randy Orton and Mick Foley. Love it.
It was a great one, wasn't it?
He's not a coward. Foley's not a coward.
But in answer to that question, by the way, don't worry, Adam. By the way, we've got an up-to-date round for my next one. In answer to my bonus question, the answer, Chris, wasn't when he hit Sherry with the mirror. It was in fact when he came back and won the Intercontinental title on Raw when he was in his street clothes. And Shawn Michaels made an open challenge. Jannetty came out, took all the gear off, and Vince was like, "It's Marty Jannetty." Anyway. Question number 5. In 2006, The Undertaker was due to face the Great Khali in a Punjabi prison match. Khali was removed from the match, and his replacement was The Big Show. Rob, it's a clean sweep.
It is.
It's a clean sweep. Not bad at all.
Might be my first 5 out of 5. I'm not sure.
It might be. So let's bring Chris in to get the bonus points. More importantly, for those out there, Chris, how have we done there?
Yeah, very well. Rob might have got 5 out of 5 for the second time when we've been doing the quiz. Chris Marden was first on all 5 questions.
Wow. Well done, Chris. Round of applause.
So, points for this round. Chris Marden, 5. Will Kitchen, 3. David Reed, 3. Dan Greenwood, 1. Sean Walkington, 1. Adam Ferrand, 1. Mark Hemingway, 1.
Impressive stuff, guys. Just give us a repeat on that, Chris, if that's all right.
Yeah, Chris Marden, 5. Will Kitchen, 3. David Reed, 3. Dan Greenwood, 1. Sean Walkington, 1. Adam Ferrand 1, and Mark Hemingway 1.
Wonderful. Brilliant stuff, mate. Thank you very much. Are we keeping a good pace for you?
Yep, very good for me. This round's going to be the one.
Oh, good stuff. Well, let's get Rob in. Chris, we'll see you in 5 questions time.
See, Hatch knows what's coming, you see, because I had to use him as a guinea pig earlier on.
Go on then, let's have it.
I would just say with all those bonus points, keep a tally of everything as you go, everybody, because at the end we'll ask you what you scored. Don't cheat with your scores because we can double check, but obviously we'll only double check in the need to. So we will want you to keep your tally as you go, and after each round we'll probably ask for a little bit of an unofficial tally up. And with Chris Marden, they're getting some bonus points. I'm actually going to take a point off him for having a name that's quite similar to someone from Coldplay. But I am going to add him one on for having a name quite similar to former stylish Southampton and Huddersfield midfielder Chris Marsden. So you back to level of par for him there. Yeah. Right, my round, the next 5. Unusually for me, it's not some sort of weird hidden link or connection that no one even notices, like the rhymes from last week. I am actually going to tell you what my rounds are about this week. So my first one is a bit of a little concept one. What I'm going to do is all about tag teams, okay? So here, Paul, I'll do it with you. So we'll try out an example. Don't write in, everyone, for this one. This is an example. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the names of 2 wrestlers or 2 wrestling characters anyway.
Right.
You are going to give me the name of a tag team that those 2 made up while using different names.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So here is the example question. This is not question 6. This is an example question. So if I said to you, Crush and Adam Bomb,
it would be Chronic.
Chronic, because that's Brian Adams, and Brian Adams was Crush, wasn't he? Brian Clark was Adam Bomb. So when Brian Adams and Brian Clark were a team, they were Chronic. So I give you 2 names. You have to basically come up with 2 other names for those people, and then give me the tag team name. And I need the tag team name. Another, for example, might have been if I said the Blue Blazer and Coquina, which would have been Owen Hart and Yokozuna. If you put Owen Hart and Yokozuna, that's not a team name. Do you see what I mean? So I didn't do that one because
they haven't got a team name.
You could argue that they were Camp Cornet, but then the whole group was called Camp Cornet. So we're not doing that one. So if you put Brian Adams and Brian Clark, that's wrong. The answer is Chronic. Is everyone okay with that?
I like this round, and I'm also going to put this feels like it might be right up my street. So at the risk of making myself sound like a complete tool, I'm backing myself for a good round here.
I think there's only one that you mightn't get, and I still think you'll get it. Actually, I'd be surprised if you didn't get it. Knowing you as a mate, I'm not saying it's an easy round by any stretch, but knowing you and what you know, I would expect you to get 5 here. I certainly wouldn't expect you to get less than 4.
I've got a ridiculous brain for useless wrestling trivia. I can barely remember my mother's birthday, but I can definitely tell you who won the tag team titles in May 1992 in a cage match. Probably. It might have been the Steiner brothers. I don't even know if it was May, might have been June, but you get the picture. So let's go.
Okay, right. Question number 6. Remembered. Question number 6. Masked Superstar and Repo Man. Masked Superstar and Repo Man.
Mm-hmm.
So what you need to be doing, who was Masked Superstar? Who was Repo Man? What other gimmicks or other wrestling names did they have? And at some point, they teamed. What was the name of their team?
Do I need to be writing these down this week? There's no hidden, cheeky connection at the end.
I promise you there is no hidden, cheeky, clever connection. I'll tell you for why, because I think both of my 5s need a bit of thinking. So this has got a little bit of thing, and then wait till you get to my other 5, which are going to be there's some real nasty ones in my other 5. I don't expect you to get all 5 on my other 5. Let me tell you that. Because I think they're quite hard. The second 5 is quite hard. There's no hidden theme this week. I will admit though, this round I'm doing is not absolutely made for banter in between, is it? Because it's how you give them away. So is that long enough? Do you want to have a go at number 6?
Yes, let's go at number 6. I'm going to say, without any hesitation, it's Demolition.
Okay. Walking Disasters. That's your answer for number 6. Straight on to number 7, or did you have another point to make?
Oh no, go! I'm just trying to.
Okay.
I'll be honest. I'm trying to put a post on the Hooked on Wrestling Facebook page while we're between
look at
talking.
him, look. Multitasking.
I'm trying, but not so successfully. So go on. Let's have question 7.
Number 7. Jimmy Graffiti and Zip. Jimmy Graffiti and Zip.
Okay. I've never heard of Jimmy Graffiti, but
I did think that.
Is this the one that you thought I might not get? Is this the one? Is this the one that you might?
Yeah. Well, there's one of them that I think you'll know who the people are, but you might forget their team name.
Okay, interesting. Just let me send this out.
I'll tell you what I'll say. While Paul's sending that one, everyone else is thinking. I did realise a massive mistake that I made, and I realised it about 6:45 tonight, so it was too late to rewrite everything. But we should try and do topical things. We might on the podcast. Certainly, we did best ladder match performer when the Money in the Bank was going on, and with lots of the things that we're going to do in future. We've got some Undertaker stuff coming up when it's the end of the Undertaker documentary, and lots of other things that we're going to try and tie in both website and podcast. And so therefore we can do that kind of thing on the quiz, and we have done already so far on this quiz. And it suddenly occurred to me, Paul, why didn't we do some sort of double or nothing round? That's what we should be doing on tonight's quiz, shouldn't we? We should have done some. I had you know my either or both round, don't you? I should have been doing that.
Well, I have actually. We have got a double or nothing themed round on our Hooked on Wrestling quiz on our website.
No, but that's about AEW though. All I mean is this should have been double points.
I see. Well,
a concept quiz. The round I do on either or both, don't you? When you have to name both things.
Yeah.
You score nothing. We should have done one of those rounds. Anyway, that would have been more work for you actually, Hatch. So bear that in mind for another week when I drop an even harder one for you to mark on you.
I think we make Hatch work hard enough as it is, don't you?
Okay, number 7. What's your answer? Jimmy Graffiti and Zip.
I'm not sure whether you'd classify these guys as the best shit tag team ever or the shittest good tag team ever, but it's the Heavenly Bodies.
Okay, that's your answer. Okay, number 8, I beg your pardon. Number 8, VK Wall Street and the Stalker. VK Wall Street and the Stalker. That's question number 8. Take their gimmicks or other names at other points in their career. When did they team, and what was that team called? That's number 8.
Yeah, I know exactly what it is. I just want to make sure I've got the name exactly right. I'm not convinced I've got the name exactly right.
Okay. Dan Greenwood. Go on.
No, you go. I think we were about to say the same thing.
Dan Greenwood has suggested, how about a top 5 video packages or a top 5 iconic announcer calls? I assume he means that for the podcast. I think they're 2 good suggestions, Paul. I don't know about you.
I think they're 2 good shouts. I think I'd struggle. I'd have to do some research on the video package one, which is not something I quite like to do very often because I'm a lazy arse swine. But I think it's a really good idea.
This is one of the good things about, I'm not going to call them the Hooked On universe, but you know what I mean, in terms of the people that interact with us, we get lots of good suggestions. So I think, bear in mind, one of the rules of the podcast is we're not allowed to use anything for the top 5 that's not been suggested by someone. True. So they do the work for us. We can take all the suggestions, read them. People can even click the links, can't they? They can give us the links, and we can watch them all and discuss from there. So, and I would also argue, if you don't think of one of them, then therefore was it good enough in the first place? But I do like the idea of the video packages. You could do all sorts, from hype videos to pay-per-views, or nostalgia ones, or all sorts. I like that idea a lot, Dan. I will put that on the list. It's
quite cool, isn't it?
The iconic announcer calls is not bad as well, but we've got a couple of announcer things that we want to do. So that might get spread out for maybe just over a year's time. We do have that many on the list. Okay, number 8, VK Wall Street and the Stalker.
Are you ready for my answer?
So I said it.
Oh, sorry. I think it's the US Express.
Okay. Number 9, Golga and the Shockmaster. Golga and the Shockmaster. Yep. I thought you'd be happy with that one. We're going to
like that.
We're going to reveal what the We're going to reveal what the topic is for this week's podcast at the end of the show, by the way, like we always do here on a Friday night. If you don't know what we're talking about, what we've been doing, a new podcast we started a couple of weeks ago, which is called How to Be Great. And we discuss a very niche topic in wrestling. Me and Paul between us pick a top 5 as a shortlist, and you guys on the website can vote for the winner. So far, we've done Best Dropkick, which was won by someone that's been mentioned a couple of times tonight already, Mr. Perfect. We did Best Ladder Match Performer last week, which was won by Jeff Hardy. And this week, in a very fun podcast to do, we've come up with a list of a top 5 of the best opening 2 seconds of people's theme music. So we've provided a top 5. So give the podcast a listen. Listen to our pitches for the top 5 and our god awful long-winded. No, actually, it wasn't long-winded, but a very, very tricky system of how we got it down to 5. Some huge names that we've left off the list because it was so hard to pick 5. And those 5 are on the website, and you can vote for your favourite. And then in next week's podcast, we'll do another topic, and it all begins again, as they said at WrestleMania 20. So at the end of this show, we'll tell you what next week's topic is going to be to get you thinking.
Nice WrestleMania 20 reference there, mate.
That's right, wasn't it? It was when they said that it all begins again.
It absolutely was, man. Yeah, I absolutely was. I fully endorse it. I love it. You need an answer from me, don't you? Sorry,
Yes, please. That's what
I'm not ignoring you. I'm just making some amendments to the website while I do it. I'm sorry, guys. I hate to be rude. I'm really trying to get.
He never stops. You think Vince McMahon's a busy man? This guy, Paul Benson, never stops.
I didn't say our website. I'm on Pornhub. So I'm just subscribing to Premium. No, my answer to that one is the natural disasters.
Okay, and number 10, final question in my opening round of 5, is Aaron Stevens and Stardust. Aaron Stevens and Stardust.
Yeah. Okay.
Is my final one. What were their other characters? What were they called when they teamed Aaron Stevens and Stardust? Malcolm has said about the podcast this week, he says it annoyed him. That podcast annoyed me, he says, and then says, ha ha. He gets an extra point of saying ha ha rather than lol. But I'd like to know why it annoyed you, Malcolm. Did it annoy you because we left something out in particular? In which case, well, job done. Because that is part of it. And Leanne emphasises it was excellent singing, and it really was. It was jolly good. And it was excellent singing because I decided in the end, in too many little actual clips in was going to be a bit of a test of copyright. So by singing, we can claim that we're not necessarily breaching the copyright.
Is that why we were singing? It's the first time I think I've ever sung in public to that degree before.
Well, your singing is that bad that people wouldn't actually know that it was the copyright that you were stealing. So there is plausible deniability. No, he's actually singing a different song. You're not hear how bad it is. So it's not actually what you think. That's my defence anyway, Milad.
Right.
While I wait for Malcolm to tell me what annoyed him, do you want to annoy me by getting another one right?
Yeah, I'll get another one right for you, mate. It's the Rhodes Scholars.
Okay, that's the 5 done then. I'll start to go through these proper answers for everybody. Hatch, I'm sure, is getting himself ready to come back and give you the bonuses. So I'll give you the answers and then we'll bring him in, which will take us to half time. And our timing is going to be pretty much spot on. We're going to try and get ourselves in for 8:15. So we should be quite close to that. Okay, excuse me. So the answers were Masked Superstar and Repo Man, where of course Bill Eadie and Barry Darsow, as I'll say correctly this week, they were Axe and Smash Demolition. Yep. Jimmy Graffiti. Do you not remember Jimmy Graffiti? A short,
clearly not.
Early, when would it have been? Late 1996 WCW gimmick for Jimmy Del Rey, and Zip obviously was Skip's brother in the Bodied Honors. So the answer is the Heavenly Bodies, as you quite rightly say. Jimmy Del Rey and Dr. Tom Pritchard. VK Wall Street. He was lots of different versions of Wall Street, wasn't he? He was VK. Michael Wall Street, VK Wall Street, Mr. Wall Street, M Wall Street. But most of us would know him as IRS. But even before that, working under his real name of Mike Rotunda, along with the Stalker, who was also the Widowmaker, and also a very important part of the Four Horsemen, Barry Windham. So Mike Rotunda and Barry Windham, as Paul said, the US Express.
can never remember the American Express or the US Express. So
the American Express, they had a gold card or something. They won the title.
You never know.
Number 9, Golga and the Shockmaster, both wearing helmets or hoods of various different degrees, and one of them actually managing to keep it on his head. Golga being John,
both with popular culture items about their person. Golga with a South Park t-shirt on and a Cartman t-shirt, and Shockmaster with a Stormtrooper helmet on. So,
although one of them was done knowingly, because the Golga character loved Cartman, whereas I think they tried to get away with the fact that they didn't have a proper helmet for Shockmaster, so they just got a Stormtrooper helmet and glittered it up a bit.
Why not?
Yes. Anyway, so Golga and the Shockmaster, John Tenter and Fred Ottman. Fred Ottman, possibly the nicest man I've ever met in my life in wrestling. A lovely man. Earthquake and Typhoon, the natural disasters. And Aaron Stevens and Stardust. Aaron Stevens, a.k.a. Damien Sandow, as he was in WWE. What was he in TNA? Aaron Rex? Is that what he's called in TNA?
Yeah, Aaron Rex, yep.
Aaron Stevens in... Aaron Stevens... What was the tag team he was with? I forget what they were called. Was Aaron Stevens and Casey
Stevens, wasn't it?
Stevens,
Stevens, I think.
Well, yeah, I forget what they were. They had Michelle McCool with them. I can't remember what the name of their team
I don't think his name was Aaron Evans. I don't think Aaron Stevens. I'm not sure. Was it Aaron Idol? I don't know.
Anyway, Aaron Stevens and Stardust, Damien Sandow and Cody Rhodes. And yes, their actual team was called Team Rhodes Scholars. Now, if you didn't include the word, for some reason, WWE got obsessed with the word team.
They always have been for years, haven't they? All the Survivor Series teams suddenly became Team Angle and Team Benoit and Team whatever else.
But it was Team Hell No and Team Bad and Team Rhodes. Yeah. They had to put team in front of things for some reason. I never quite understood that. But anyway, the answer is Team Rhodes Scholars. But as Chris knows, because we discussed it earlier on, if you weren't far off on that, then
he's giving you the point.
We'll allow it. It was a very, very obtuse, slightly esoteric reference, because Rhodes Scholars is a thing at Oxbridge universities when people get a sort of certain grant or a certain way into
something like that.
Yeah, obscure reference for an American wrestling company to use, but I approved of it. Anyway, that's the answer. That's those 5. So Demolition, Heavenly Bodies, US Express, Natural Disasters, Team Rhodes Scholars. For the first time on one of these quizzes, after 5 questions each, we've got 5 apiece. I mean,
amazing.
That's being too easy. Yeah, I don't think it'll be the same in my second 5.
And nor will mine, I don't think. But let's bring Chris in and see how everybody else has done this round. Hello, Chris.
Casey James. Thank you, Will Kitchen. Casey James was the other wrestler.
So very quickly, first 4 questions of that round, Chris Marden was in the first 3 again. Last question, 4th.
Wow. He's losing it.
Bonus points for that round. Chris Marden, 4. Will Kitchen, 4. David Reed, 3. Sean Walkington, 2. Adam Ferrand, 2.
Nice. Do you remember, Paul, when they used to have managers a lot in WWE, especially when they were debuting, they'd often wander down around the ramp and maybe stand halfway and just watch someone's match like they were scouting.
I do, yeah.
Isn't Chris Marden doing well?
Well, maybe we'll come on to that in a little while, eh? I've noticed similar myself. So, Chris, thank you for your input there, my friend. We will get on with my next set of questions, shall we?
With the correct numbers, please.
I'll do my very best, but no promises. See you in a bit.
See you in a minute.
What Hatch has not told you, but I will, is when I sent him the questions earlier on today, so he can get all his answers together, I numbered mine 6 to 10 and 16 to 20. So I was all ahead of the game.
Get you. Well, let's see if I can get you behind the curve on this one, because my next 5 questions are about AEW. All Elite Wrestling. I've not made them particularly obscure because I don't know how many people out there watch it. So, with a passing knowledge, you should do okay on this, but I'm not sure what your passing knowledge is like. So we'll soon find out, won't we? Right. Question number 1. Which former WWE superstar debuted on the first episode of Dynamite by joining in a brawl after the main event 6-man tag team match? Okay. So, which former WWE superstar debuted on the first episode of Dynamite by joining in a brawl after the main event 6-man tag team match? And I've chosen AEW, by the way, because I'm trying consciously to do a nostalgic round and a modern round, and I'll carry on doing that, broadly speaking, while we're doing this. So, I want to give a little bit to everyone. So, I've gone with this. So, who debuted for AEW on the first episode of Dynamite? By interfering at the conclusion of the main event, and I will. I'll take either his WWE name or his AEW name on this one.
The first episode of Dynamite.
Yep.
Oh no, I had an answer, and I think it was at a pay-per-view. Bugger! I was sitting there relatively confident I knew that, and I've suddenly realised that my answer occurred at a pay-per-view. So I'm now trying to whiz through the
roster.
Whiz through the roster. You just said you'd take either his WWE name or his AEW name.
Yeah.
Which means there's a few people it's obviously not, because it's not. I'll help everyone here, but it's clearly not Chris Jericho, for example, because he has the same name.
It's definitely not Chris Jericho.
I mean, it wouldn't be Jericho anyway. I would know it's not Jericho anyway, but I'm saying that it couldn't be him because he's got the same name in both.
But I do believe
occasions.
that might well be the only person it couldn't be. I can't think of anybody else that it.
Well, it couldn't be Matt Hardy. It couldn't be Matt Hardy.
Well, no, but it clearly isn't, is it?
No, I know, but it's not the only person it couldn't be, is what I'm saying.
No. But anyway, I think people have had enough time, so let's see what's your.
Give me another 4 hours.
Another 4 hours. Well, shall I go and have my birthday meal and then my belated meal and then come back and ask you for the answer? You don't mind hanging around, guys, do you? You know, is that all right? Have you got an answer for us? Give us an answer.
I'll give you an answer, even though I know it's wrong. And if I think of another answer, I'm going to interject with it. Okay. I will say John Moxley.
Moxley.
But I think that happened. I think he appeared at a pay-per-view. I don't think it was I don't think it was on Dynamite.
You're saying Johnny of Moxley, are you? Okay, fine. Right. Question number 2. Who were the first AEW Tag Team Champions? Who were the first AEW Tag Team Champions?
Okay. I know a few tag teams from that company. Can I just say, it might look like I'm being really flippant and going, oh, I don't like it. It's not that I don't like AEW. In fact, I strongly approve of there being a new company on the block, and I've not got a critique one way or another about their show. I just happen not to watch it. That's all it is. I just happen to have fallen out of my regular wrestling viewing habits. That's all it is. So I'm not undermining or taking the mick out of AEW. It just happens to be not a show I'm regularly watching at this stage. I just want to clarify that, because I look like I'm being.
I think that's fair enough.
I don't like it, so I'm not knocking anything. Okay, I have an answer.
You have an answer, do you? What is that answer?
I'm gonna say Private Party.
Private Party is your answer. Okay. So let's move on.
And it's partly because I think it might be something else, and I can't remember their tag name.
Okay. Well, on to question 3. Question 3. This one might be more in your wheelhouse, actually. The owners of All Elite Wrestling, the Khan family, also own which 2 professional sports teams? The owners of AEW, the Khan family, also own which 2 professional sports teams?
That one I can do.
I thought you might.
That one I can do, which gives me more time to try and think of the first answer. I should say, while we're doing AEW, and Paul we did mention it earlier on. I was on the call yesterday, on the media call, which Cody did before the Double or Nothing pay-per-view, the report of which is on hookedonwrestling.co.uk. I will say, Paul, that's the first time I've really properly listened, because I was on the call and taking notes. That was the first time I've really listened to Cody in that capacity. Obviously, I know him very, very well as a wrestler. In fact, it was the first ever interview I ever did as a wrestling journalist about 12 or 13 years ago.
I remember you saying that, yeah.
But I've watched his career. I've always thought he was half decent. I never thought he'd be quite as good as he ended up being, and quite as prominent as he ended up being. But so I know all about him as a wrestler and as a character. But that's the first time I've really heard him as the sort of EVP position in AEW. And I thought, I thought he spoke tremendously well. I thought he was
He's an
very
impressive
charming,
chap, hasn't he?
very knowledgeable, very charming, very friendly. But just little things that the people on the call would, say, "Hi, it's so and so from so and so," and he'd say hello and go, "Oh, I always like it when you call, or you always ask good questions." Or one person in particular said, "Oh, I can't ask my questions because someone's just asked it," and he just was relaxed with them. Said, "Oh, you can come up with another question. Well, I'll ask you something. What's your favorite energy drink?" And he just sort of bantered with them, and they lightened. And I was impressed with him. I just thought he seemed like a good human being and a good person to be in charge of a company. And then I realised he's 2 years younger than me, and it frightened the life out of me.
Like I said to you on our text exchange last night, there's a reason that man managed to woo Brandy Rhodes.
Well, yeah, quite.
that is not something that anyone on this planet can accomplish. So well done, Cody.
Hat tip to him. Right, I can give you an answer.
I agree with you. So give me an answer, and then after that, we are going to ask the next question, and then we're going to talk through our new quiz concept idea. So, right,
Ooh,
what's your answer?
Okay, that came out of nowhere. It's Fulham in football for soccer. It's Fulham.
Obviously, yep. Okay, that's your answer.
I'm fairly certain it must be Jacksonville Jaguars in the NFL because I know it's all based in Jacksonville. And actually, funny enough, in my old life of working at Plymouth Argyle, our local university at Marjon in Plymouth used to have a link up with the University of North Florida in Jacksonville, and we used to have placement students come over every year. So I know 4 or 5 people from Jacksonville, so I know that Jacksonville were the team that play their American football matches at Wembley because of that. I don't follow the NFL at all, but I know that Jacksonville are sort of the home team at Wembley, aren't they? And I think the Cards tried to buy Wembley Stadium. So I happen to know. I don't know a lot of NFL things at all, but I do know. If I had to pick an NFL team, I would pick Jacksonville partly because they're a home team for Britain, but also because they're. I know some people from that city. I know people who work for the Jacksonville soccer team, for example.
There are worse choices to have. Anyway, question number 4. Slightly out of the ring, this one, but which British comedian took part in promotional videos for AEW before the original Double or Nothing pay-per-view? Which British comedian took part in promotional videos for AEW before the original Double or Nothing pay-per-view? So we'll let you guys marinate on that for a minute. And
I know that. Without mentioning his name, can I tell a story about him?
Yeah, go on then, and then we'll save the reveal of the quiz idea for another one. Use this as our little preamble on this one.
Yeah. So, I forgot you were going to do it. I thought you were going to do that at the end of the round. Sorry.
No, just go for it.
This person, Malcolm. I was just wondering why Malcolm was putting numbers on. I thought it was his score. He's obviously.
Did I say 4 again? Did I say 4?
You didn't say 14. You should have said 14.
I'm an idiot.
Thank you, Malcolm. If Chris is ever missing one week, you can come and be our ref, I think. But yes, said comedian is a genuine wrestling fan. In fact, I think he's been on a television. It's a minor clue if you're not getting it. He's been on a television show where he's talked about being a wrestling fan before, and mentioned out of nowhere Shelton Benjamin, which showed you he wasn't going with the obvious names. But he was backstage at a TNA show, or at least went to a TNA show at Wembley Arena, and was at the after show party, in which our mutual friend Matt Parrow, who is a magician and is amazing, by the way, everybody. Matt Parrow is a magician.
Oh, God, yeah.
Look him online. MATTPARRO. Google him. Look through stuff online. He's got YouTube channels and podcasts and websites. He's amazing. He's a mate, so we're biased, but he is amazing. And there was one night, having had one or two of these and feeling quite brave, I just basically took Matt around the room, pulling people to one side and going, "Do you want to see some magic?" So I would just wander up to Kurt Angle, Mickey James, Rob Van Dam, whoever it was. And I was so brave because I had a magician with me and went, "He wants to do a trick for you." And he did several for this particular comedian. And indeed, it was on Matt's sort of show reel, as it were, on his YouTube videos. And it showed this chap being very impressed by Matt's magic. But that's more of a plug for Matt than it is for the answer to this question. But I happen to have met.
But why don't before
I can still see me.
I can see you now.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Hear me now.
Okay, cool.
So give us your answer anyway, Rob. I think we've given the preamble enough. So let's have your answer.
It's Jack Whitehall.
Okie doke, Jack Whitehall. And question 5. Now, don't think of a story for this one, my friend. I think you'd struggle. But which we'll do the quiz reveal after this one. But question 15. God, I can't even manage this at all, can I? Question 15. In total, how many title changes have there been in AEW history? In total, how many title changes? Now, there's not many promotions where you can actually count the total number of title changes across all titles, but in AEW you can.
I can have a go at that. I'll have a go at that. Are you gonna do the quiz thing now, or are you gonna do it after the?
I'm just replying to Chris, who wants to. He's Chris Hatch got a Cody story to tell as well, and I'm just replying to him saying, yeah, we'll do it for a second. We'll do it in a bit. Yeah. So what we'll do, bear in mind, guys, we want your feedback on this. This is the bare bones of an idea between Rob and I. We thought this is not a replacement, by the way, for what we do now. This is in additional to. I've been wanting to do this for a while. Basically, it's the Hooked on Wrestling Civil War. Hooked on Wrestling with Civil War, right? So me and Rob try and outdo each other on these little games every week. It's a friendly rivalry.
No. You try to outdo me. I just get on with my work. You're the one that's the other way around.
I try and outdo Rob, successfully so most weeks. And we'd like to take this to the next level. And what we'd like to do is involve you guys. So the idea we're going to put this together. We are going to put together Team Rob, as he likes these things to be referred to, and Team Benson. But we will think of better names for these. And those teams are going to consider, on each team, there'll be a couple of guests from the Hooked On team. There'll be maybe a wrestling celebrity, and at least two, maybe three of you guys of our quiz team. And bear in mind, Chris was mentioned by Rob earlier for a very specific reason, because I think he's recruiting for this team. So what we're going to do, it's up to me and Rob individually how we set our recruiting process. But we are going to recruit at least two, maybe three for our teams, and we're going to have a weekly quiz off whereby we're not going to get involved, right? We're going to set the questions. We're going to do it honestly. Obviously, we're not going to share the answers with our quiz because we're not that sad that we'd bother with that. But we're going to pair you guys off one-on-one on a weekly basis. So it might be one person from my team against one person from Rob's team, and we'll alternate picking the format. It won't be a straight quiz format. There'll be a bit of variety to it, a bit of a flair to it, and we're going to pit you guys against each other. It's simply best out of 5. So we don't want you guys to let us down. It will be Rob's team against my team. Hooked on Wrestling quiz Civil War, and we want you guys to be involved. So we'll give you some more details in a while, but essentially we need you guys to be absolutely on your best, and we're going to pick the best quizzes from either these games we play. I've got the advantage of, Robin, that I know some of the good quizzes from our various parties around the UK that I can tap up. So I'm going to try and build an unbeatable team of Hooked on Wrestling fans, wrestling celebs, and Hooked on Wrestling team members, as in the guys on our team who write for the website or run our parties. So give us a couple of weeks. We'll flesh this out, and this is a summer game for June, July to have. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question, Paul? We have talked about this. We have talked about this privately, the concept. But there's one question I haven't asked you, and I'm going to ask it in the public.
Go on.
There are certain people that may or may not be on quiz shows on television that are friends of yours.
Yes.
Are they public? Are they permitted by ITV to appear on other quiz shows that may or may not be on Facebook Live on Tin Pot Wrestling sites?
That's a beastly question.
Yeah, because
that's a beastly question.
Given that, spoiler everybody, Paul knows the Beast from the chess.
Who's also a big wrestling fan.
I vaguely know him. As in, I've met him 3 or 4 times, and he's been to Hooked On parties. But yeah, you know him. He's a mate. It's like, so I think perhaps I don't know if we can get him as
the honest answer is there's a few reasons why he wouldn't be involved.
Thank goodness.
Because he's got a contract with ITV that has to keep him at a certain standard. He couldn't come on our Tin Pot Facebook quiz, but also because as his whole livelihood is based on being an incredibly good, almost unbeatable quizzer, we wouldn't want him to be exposed by his wrestling knowledge on this. And his wrestling knowledge is excellent, but I suspect that a lot of you guys would have him.
Yeah, not tippy top.
Have him in a wrestling match. If you put him in a college quiz against
Did you see him this week? Get all upset.
I didn't see him this week.
Stormed off.
if you put him up against any of you lot in a general knowledge quiz, I'd fancy the Beast chances, but in a pure wrestling quiz, maybe not. So keep looking for that. We'll keep your eyes on this one. We'll let everyone know about that, obviously. But Rob, have you got an answer for that? How many title changes in AEW history?
It won't be many. It won't be many because there's not many. I think there's only been one. There's only been one title change, isn't there? As the actual world title.
In the world title.
I'm not sure how many titles there are in total, but there's not many. And the TNT title I know has been up for grabs tomorrow night. They've not started yet, so I'll say maybe 4.
4. Okay.
I don't think it'll be many. I don't think it'll be many.
Well, let's go through the answers then, shall we? So, question 11. Which former WWE superstar debuted on the first episode of Dynamite by joining in a brawl after the main event? So that main event was Chris Jericho, Santana, and Ortiz against, I believe, the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. And it was Jake Hager, a.k.a. Jack Swagger.
Ah, Jack Swagger. Right, okay. I'd have been a long time getting that.
He was the guy. So we'll accept Hager or Swagger as the answer there, either or. Question 2. Who were the first ever AEW Tag Team Champions? You said Private Party. The answer is SoCal Uncensored.
Yeah, Is that Daniels and Kazarian?
It is that tag team, but it was actually Scorpio and Kazarian. But we'll accept any combination of 3. If you've mentioned Daniels, whatever, we'll accept it.
I thought it was them, and I could only think of them. I couldn't even think of what their TNA name was called, to be honest.
Did they have one? I'm not sure they had one in TNA. I think it was just Daniels and Kazarian.
Okay, but they had a name in Ring. They had a name in Ring of Honor. They were called.
I might be wrong.
Attitude or something in Ring of Honor.
Oh yeah, maybe.
I couldn't get it.
So SoCal Uncensored or SCU. Question 3. The owners of AEW also own which 2 professional sports teams? And you're bang on here, mate. It's Fulham FC and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Or the Jaguars, if you're English.
Jaguars, if you're English.
Question 4. Which British comedian took part in promotional videos for AEW before the original Double or Nothing? Again, you were quite right. It was Jack Whitehall. And question 5. In total, how many title changes have there been in AEW history? You are 1 out, mate. It's 3. Each of the titles have changed hands once.
Well, that's good. Fair play to them for that. That's a real bonus for a company that's been around over a year to have only done that. That's quite disciplined.
Not bad, is it? Not bad. So there we are at the end of that round. I'm going to bring our Chris Master back in. Quizmasters, here we go.
the Quizmasters. That's clearly what the show has to be called then, the Civil War.
Chris, how are we doing for bonus points, mate?
Okay, we've got David Reed 4, Will Kitchen 3, Dan Greenwood 2, Chris Marden 2, Katie Jones 2, Sean Walkington 1, Adam Ferrand 1.
Wow. Okay, so they've been spread out a lot more there. Do you want to just give us a repeat on that one because there's so many?
Yep, David Reed 4, Will Kitchen 3, Dan Greenwood 2, Chris Marden 2, Katie Jones 2, Sean Walkington 1, Adam Ferrand 1.
Well done, guys. And Chris, have you got a story for us about Cody Rhodes?
Yeah, just a quick story. So I've been lucky. I've refed and announced him. One of the nicest guys I've met coming over here. But my wife Sarah, who many people know, asked for a photo with him backstage after the show, and he said, "Can I just complete my outfit?" And with that, went and put his cufflinks on. And
yes,
wound so much in their life.
Cody Rhodes song.
Love it.
No shame.
He is the man. He's the man we all aspire to be, isn't he?
What I will say to that's a good story. What I will say to that, and this goes certainly Paul and Chris will understand it, as will Sarah, and anyone that came to the Bruce Pritchard shows that we did a couple of years ago. I'm not going to elaborate any more than that, but goddamn pal, gotta have class.
Chris, we'll see you in a bit, buddy. Let's get through this last round. Go on then, Rob. Give us your fiendish last one, mate.
Okay, yes, it's my last round. Right. In fact, shall I tell everyone what our topic is for the podcast this coming week? We've agreed on that, haven't we? We're happy with what we're going to do because it plays into my round. So what we're going to do on the podcast this week, folks, is there's lots of debate about what the best match ever at WrestleMania is. there's also often debates about what the best WrestleMania is. But we're combining the two and adding a little bit of a different edge. So our question this week is, what is the best WrestleMania of all time if you only took 2 matches from each show? So not the best match on each show. We've done that on the WrestleMania mixtape on the old Hooked On podcast. But what we're essentially going to do is go through every WrestleMania, pick out the best 2 matches, and then pit them against each other and say, what is the best 2-match card of WrestleMania if you distilled every show into 2 matches? So it's a real thinker, because you might go, well, the best match is clearly this one, and the best match, second best is that one and that one. But were there good secondary matches on those shows? Are we going to find hidden gems and there's 2 together? Are we going to include, do we find that there's a great show that's got lots of 4 stars but not 2 5 stars? We're going to go deep into WrestleMania. We're going to find the best 5 shows where we take the best 2 matches from each show. That sounds a bit more complicated than it actually will be. But we'll put the questions out over the weekend on the social media, and we will ask you what is the best 2-match show in WrestleMania history. That is essentially the question.
Indeed.
So it's going to be an interesting one to talk about, Paul.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one, mate. A lot of juice in that subject, that's for sure. Right, Speaking of questions, let's have them.
Okay, so essentially, my questions are all WrestleMania questions today. That is, I've not gone into too much more than that, but they are fiendish WrestleMania questions. They're not just who replaced who and who did what and who did this. Fiendish WrestleMania questions, which I probably should have saved until next year. But am I really going to sit on a quiz round for 10 months? I thought we might as well do it now. Okay, question 16. Question 16, who sang? I will say that sometimes, most often at WrestleMania, they do America the Beautiful. Obviously, when it was in Canada, they did Oh Canada. But occasionally, they do the national anthem rather than America the Beautiful. And at the first WrestleMania, they did the national anthem and not America the Beautiful. Who sang the national anthem at the first WrestleMania?
God.
Who sang the national anthem at the first WrestleMania? There's been lots of famous people that have done it all through the years. Like I say, it's often America the Beautiful. But WrestleMania 1, who sang the American national anthem?
I've got 2 answers in my head.
Already some suggestions coming in about 2-match manias. That's what we want to see. Make sure, folks, that you obviously respond to the official social media post so we can find it and use it easy enough when we actually do the podcast. I'm sure they will, but I'm just
so you got 2 in the you got 2 in the last round, didn't you? By the way, Rob. So I've got 2 to beat in this round to be the victor in this one, and we've got.
Let me have a look. Will you get 2 of these?
We've got about 13 to go.
Oh, I think you will get. I think you'll get exactly 2.
Right. Well, I'm going to give my answer on this one.
Okay.
I've got 2 to choose from, and I'm gonna go Howard Finkel.
Okay. Question 17. At WrestleMania 6, Rhythm and Blues came to the ring in a Cadillac. Who was driving the Cadillac? And the answer is not any of the members of Rhythm and Blues, nor is it Peggy Sue, who was occasionally played by Sensational Sherry. Did you know? At WrestleMania 6, Rhythm and Blues, that was Honky Tonk Man and Greg Valentine. Rhythm and Blues came to the ring in a Cadillac. Who was driving the Cadillac? And the answer is not either Honky or Valentine, or indeed Sensational Sherry, who sometimes played Peggy Sue. What do you think, Paul? You got an answer there?
I think I know this one. Yeah, I think I know this one.
This is a bit of a you know or you don't one, I have to say. This is a bit of a one-off historical.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
question.
I mean, to me, it's one of those. Wow, when you hear it for the first time, it's incredible, but then it never leaves you. If you never heard it, you don't know. But you never forget it if you heard it for the first time. I'm just going to give it another 30 seconds. Sorry, we're rushing this last round a bit, guys, but I do want to get. It's a very, very unusual. I have to rush.
We're going to try and get it out of in 7 minutes, aren't we?
We're going to try, and therefore I'm going to say the answer to this one is. Do you want his gimmick name or his real name?
Yeah, well, give me his real name.
Because he technically wasn't Diamond Dallas Page then. I think he was Paige Falkenberger, which is his real name. But so I just know how tricky you are. So I'm not trying to show off my knowledge of wrestlers' real names. I'm trying to make sure that I don't fall foul of your Sergeant Major quiz disciplines?
Well, if that's the answer, and I'm not saying that is necessarily the answer, but if that's the answer, I would not be so horrible to not give you Diamond Dallas Page if you said Diamond Dallas Page and that was the answer. I might not give you Falkenberger because he's not called Falkenberger.
What's it called?
It's called Falkenberg.
Brilliant.
And in fact, I'm not certain he might have changed his official name.
To Dallas Page.
Yeah, I think he might have actually changed his. I think he might have done a Steve Austin and changed his official name. But anyway, that may or may not be the answer. I'm not saying that's the answer. Number 18. Number 18. Right. There are 4 possible answers to this. Number 18.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you name the 4 such and such. If you get 3, you get half a point, and if you get all 4, you get a full point. Okay, so nothing for 2, or for 1, or indeed for nothing. But if you get 3 of the 4, where's my 3? There. 3 of the 4, you get half a point. And if you get all 4, you get a point. Okay?
Just for clarification, on fastest finger bonuses, do they need to get all 4 to be in with a chance of that?
Good question. One that Chris and I didn't think about when we were going through whether or not you got half a point or a full point. I would say priority to the people that get all 4. But if not, I would say there's a fair chance that not more than 3 people may not get all 4. So I would say, yes, out of the people that get all 4, the bonus points is for those. But if not enough people get all 4, then the bonus point goes to the people that have.
Let's keep it a
3.
bit more simple for Chris, shall we? Let's just say you got to get all 4.
Chris is fine. Chris will work it out. Over to you. Hatch, do it whichever way you want, mate. They don't.
Yeah, he's blowing his brains out. He's just put his fingers to the right. Have a big sip, Chris, because you're going to get used to it. Right, let's have the question.
Okay. Name the 4 wrestlers who have competed in the final match of WrestleMania and then the opening match of the following WrestleMania. Name the 4 wrestlers who have competed in the final match of one WrestleMania, then the opening match of the next WrestleMania event. Okay, do you need any more qualifying on that? I think that's all of the. I think that
final match at 1, and then the final match at 1, and then the opening match the following. Yeah.
I will read it one more time. Name the 4 wrestlers who have competed in the final match of a WrestleMania, then the opening match of the next year's WrestleMania. There are 4 correct answers. My original plan was 3 will get you half a point, 4 will get you the full point. But I will admit, having not taken into consideration the fastest finger, so just get as many as you can, and Chris will work out a system.
Okay.
Big pause. I'll fill some more time because Paul might have to do some thinking on that one. So just a quick reminder. We already talked about the Hooked On podcast. It's now called How to Be Great. It's on Apple Podcasts. It's on Spotify. It's on Stitcher, I think. It's on. There's another one. There's another one which I forgot the name of, which is called Deezer or Geezer or Bleezer or something like that. The only one we're working on is YouTube. It's going at some point to be on our YouTube channel. We've got a new Hooked On Wrestling YouTube channel, and at some point the podcast is going to go on there. We've just not quite. It's not our fault actually. Acast and YouTube are still working out their bits and bobs. Just to answer a question that Malcolm has asked, not including pre-shows. Yes, correct. I mean the first show on the pay-per-view. Forget pre-shows. And forget dark matches. Forget pre-shows. It is the first match on the pay-per-view broadcast of WrestleMania. I don't include pre-shows in my thing, and I don't also include if there happened to be a dark match at the end of a show, which may or may not have happened in WrestleMania history. I'm not sure. Craig, you just talked about getting here on time. Probably not your fault, mate. We are normally 8:00. But we had to move it an hour earlier today for our own selfish needs. So it'll be back to 8:00 next week, unless one of us forgets something in the week, as we sometimes do. But yeah, you're not the one that's late. We're early, to tell you the truth. Although we are considering moving the day in the future. But certainly next week, unless unforeseen circumstances occur, we will be back to 8 p.m. next Friday. Paul, have you got some answers for number 18?
Yeah, I've got 3. I've got 3 answers, so I'm going to have to guess.
Okay, well you can go with that, and then when we get to
Fourth.
when we do the actual answers, you can add your other one if you want.
Okay, so I'm going to give you 3. I'll give you Bret Hart. I'll give you Daniel Bryan. And I'll give you Brock Lesnar.
Okay, we'll keep on thinking and see if you get the other one, then you can mention. If you get another one, I should say, then you can think at the end. Right, question 19: who was the first woman to have 2 matches at WrestleMania?
What one WrestleMania?
No, in history. So if you're just listing the matches in history, who was the first woman?
God.
Or I'll word it a different way. Who was the first woman to have 2 matches at different WrestleManias? Put it that way.
Okay.
I mean, it's the same answer, but yeah. Who was the first woman to have 2 matches at WrestleMania?
I know the answer, but I can't remember her name. I think I know the answer anyway.
Again, as Paul does some thinking, final plugs as we're going to wrap up very, very quickly once we finish this. So we're going to do answers, Hatch answers, bonuses, and we're gone. We no a little extra chat tonight. But again, just to reiterate, please check out hookedonwrestling.co.uk. It is evolving by the day, but I'm astonished. I'm someone that's not contributed a great deal to this site so far. I will be doing more in the future. But I'm impressed from the outside just how much the site is building. Huge thumbs up to our editor, Liam, who's doing a great job, and to Paul, who's badgering away behind the scenes. And we've got quite a few people in the room tonight that are contributors as well. So thank you to everybody that's helping to make it, quite frankly, a bigger success than I thought it would be at this stage. And it's a lot of fun. Really, I'm just being honest. I thought it would take a little bit more time to kick off.
Me too, mate. Me too.
And it's been really good so far. So thank you to everybody. Please spread the word, share stories out, and so forth. It's not just about fun little things like this quiz, but clicking on the website really, really helps us.
I've got an answer. I've got an answer. Now, I'll preface this answer by saying I'm pretty sure I've got the name wrong, but I think I've got the situation right, but I can't bloody remember the woman's name if I'm wrong. I'm saying Leilani Kai.
Okay, we'll come back to that in terms of your reasoning, showing your working at the end. Number 20, who was the first woman to have 3 matches at WrestleMania?
You bastard.
Who was the first woman to have 3 matches at WrestleMania? Again, not in the same show. Who is the first woman to have notched up her 3rd WrestleMania match? Is how that question could also be worded. So again, as Paul thinks about this final answer, once we get to the end of this, I'll give you the answers quickly. We'll bring in Hatch for his final set of bonuses, and then we'll go straight out to all of you. If you want to tell us your final scores, please add up what you've scored on the first 3 rounds. Hopefully you've been adding up the bonuses, that he's been mentioning over time. And then at the end, if you fire up what the answers the totals that you've scored, we'll have a look and see who's won for this week. Like I said before, it's all in fun. It's just a way of killing a couple of hours on a Friday night during this awful time. And we've promised not to talk lockdown and COVID stuff on here because it's a distraction for everybody, and we won't. We're certainly not politically or anything like that. But we hope you're all doing all right, and we hope that one of the great things about wrestling and wrestling communities is that we're all in it. You know, we've got a similar sort of belief and we've got a similar sort of interest, and it's a nice wrestling in general is a nice distraction from life, let alone at this sort of time. It's one of the things that's kept Hooked on Parties going. It's a lovely community of wrestling fans together. That's not something we've created. It's something that exists and we've just helped to cultivate. So we hope you're all doing okay. And if anyone isn't, you've got a family, okay? You've got a wrestling family that you can come and share things with. So use us if you need to help you get through anything, and if you're struggling in any way. I mean that very sincerely. I went a bit serious then, but
yeah.
Let's hear your answer for number 20.
I don't know how I can follow that now, to be perfectly honest. But I'm going to take a wild punt on this. I can't. I've tried to do a bit of mental gymnastics with it, and I'm really just tying myself in knots. So I'm taking a bit of a semi-educated guess, and I'm going to say Victoria.
Okay. So
I don't even know if she's had 3, but that's just
in summary on that last answer, Paul Victoria.
Punt.
I actually haven't listened to it yet, but we should plug several friends of Hooked On's new adventure. Actually,
Mickey James Victoria SoCal Val.
It's called Grown Ass Women, GAW, new video podcast from SoCal Val, Mickey James and Lisa Marie, aka Victoria and Tara. Three people I've met all of them, and I'm very, very fond of all three. And so I imagine, I haven't seen it yet, but I imagine it'll be great fun. All three of those are lovely human beings, and it should be great
Agreed.
fun. Right, let's do the answers.
So let's have some answers.
Answers to those five. Who sang the national anthem at WrestleMania 1? I can't see Chris. You can. Chris, just nod or shake your head to Paul. How many correct answers were there? Were there many? Did people get that? I want to see what Chris is now doing for you, Paul, because I think...
You said people got that. People got that.
Okay, good for them. You didn't. But you were on the right lines. You said Howard Finkel. The answer, who sung the national anthem at WrestleMania 1, was Mean Gene Okerlund. Gene Mean. I've always called him Gene Mean because that's what the Iron Sheik calls him.
I must have known that in the back of my mind and just not quite managed to access it. So, okay.
Gene Mean. At WrestleMania 6, Rhythm and Blues came to the ring in a Cadillac. Who was driving that Cadillac, Paul?
That was Diamond Dallas Page. So I'm just looking out the window because my feast is here.
Well, we'll get through this very, very quickly. No more than a couple of minutes.
It was Diamond Dallas
18.
Page.
It was Diamond Dallas Page. That is the correct answer. So if you put Paige Falkenberg trying to show off like Paul, that is the correct answer. But Diamond Dallas Page, what we were looking for. Name the 4 wrestlers who have competed in the final match of one WrestleMania and then the opening match of the next WrestleMania, right? You said... Remind me of the 3 you said?
I said Bret Hart, Daniel Bryan, Brock Lesnar.
Okay. 2 of those are correct.
You're not giving me Bret Hart, are you?
No, I'm not giving you Bret Hart.
No, I didn't think so.
Brock Lesnar is correct. Brock Lesnar beat Roman Reigns and then started the next WrestleMania when Paul Heyman came out and insisted that he was going to go first. Because that was what was that? Crazy noise, as Paul just had made some noise there. But has he run away? I can't see his screen. I need to just... has he run away from me? I'll give you the answers anyway, everybody. So most recently... Are you back?
Sorry about that.
Away. Sorry, that's okay. Just to clarify. So, yes, Brock Lesnar had the last match of one show with Roman Reigns. And then the following show, it was the opener with Seth Rollins. So that's correct. Daniel Bryan, as we all know, had the opening match and the final match of WrestleMania 30. And then the opening match of 31 as he won a ladder match. So that is correct. Bret Hart did not have the final match of WrestleMania 9.
No, I know he didn't, but I wasn't
sure. The final
sure.
match of WrestleMania 9 was Hulk Hogan versus Yokozuna. So yes, Bret had the first match at WrestleMania 10, but he didn't have the last match at WrestleMania 9. So Bret Hart is an incorrect answer. Most recently, the final match of WrestleMania 35 and the first match of WrestleMania 36 featured Charlotte Flair.
Oh, God, yeah, of course.
So Daniel Bryan is correct. Brock Lesnar is correct. Charlotte Flair is the most recent. And the opening match of WrestleMania 2 featured Paul Orndorff.
Oh, you bugger. No,
Wonderful. They call him Mr. Wonderful.
A million miles off that one.
The 4 correct answers are Paul Orndorff, Daniel Bryan, Brock Lesnar, and Charlotte Flair.
Well done to anyone who got even half a point there. That was a beast. Right.
Great fun.
Next.
The first woman to have two matches at WrestleMania, at WrestleManias 1 and 10, against Wendy Richter and Alundra Blaze. Leilani Kai, you were right, Paul.
Yes. I knew my working was right because I know that's the sort of question you'd ask, but I couldn't quite remember whether I got the woman in question right. I'm pleased I did.
Steve Cox is crying out for more karaoke. I would say DJ Stevie, more playing of Mr. Wonderful's theme at future wrestling parties. And last question, number 20. The first woman to have 3 matches at WrestleMania was Sable.
No way.
Sable. I can't remember exactly. I haven't written down the exact matches, but she had a mixed tag, didn't she, with Mero against, was it Luna and... I might have forgotten that, but I'm sure she had a mixed tag somewhere in there. Then she wrestled Tori, which is one of the worst matches in WrestleMania history. And then she added her third match with that... was it lingerie match she had with, or evening gown match that turned into a lingerie match alongside Tori and Stacey and Jackie. So Sable was the first one to have 3. There you go. Luna and Goldust. Thank you, Chris. It was. So there you go. Answers: Mean Gene Okerlund, Diamond Dallas Page, Orndorff, Bryan Lesnar, and Charlotte, Leilani Kai, and Sable. let's bring in Chris and wrap up these scores. There
Okay.
he is.
Bonus points for that. Chris Marden 3, Sean Walkington 3, Will Kitchen 2, Malcolm Marr 1, Adam Ferrand 1, David Reed 1. To go through it quickly again, Chris Marden 3, Sean Walkington 3, Will Kitchen 2, Malcolm Marr 1, Adam Ferrand 1, David Reed 1. I do have a very quick top 3 based on bonus points if you'd like it.
Yes, please.
Okay, this might not be completely accurate. Please correct me in the messages after if you need to. I've got David Reed 3rd with 23 points, Will Kitchen 2nd with 26 points, and on 30 points, our winner, Chris Marden.
Some going. That's a very, very good score, Chris, if that is correct.
One, couldn't we?
We can, if you would like to very quickly, please, because we're going to wrap up inside the next couple of minutes, but if you could very quickly fire in your scores into the comments, just so we can see how everyone's done. Don't be shy. It's all for fun. No one will judge you. I certainly was struggling on Paul's second round. I think the first 2 rounds were relatively straightforward. The second 2 rounds were beastly. So I think anything in the region of 16, 17 and above is a decent score, especially if you factor in, that's factoring in bonuses. So probably even a little bit under that is a decent score. So just fire in your scores so just so you can see how you got on. And mainly, thank you to everyone for coming along again tonight. We're having a blast with these quizzes every week. It's certainly, Paul and Chris and I are talking about these during the week, looking forward to Friday and looking forward
Absolutely.
to doing it. So we are glad you're enjoying it as well. If you're struggling on the quizzes, but you're enjoying the atmosphere and the fun, that's part of it. We would rather you said that was good fun, but the quiz was crap, rather than going great quiz, but it was boring.
Exactly.
But hopefully both pay off. Hopefully you think it's a decent little quiz and it's a fun way of spending an hour and a half. So there's some scores coming in now. I'm not going to read them all out. You should be able to see them on the screen as well. And I think Chris's final 3 is probably going to be accurate. So I think almost certainly Chris Marden is the victor tonight. And I'll leave you with the Hooked on Wrestling head honcho, Paul, to wrap things up before he has his very fancy meal tonight.
Well, this will be the quickest wrap up ever. So first of all, thank you to my glamorous friends, Chris and Rob, as always, mate. Been a pleasure. And thank you to you guys that have stuck with us. Sorry again about the early hour. We will be back to 8 o'clock next Friday. Don't worry about that. And then by next week, we might have made a decision on what we will be doing in future weeks, but it'll definitely be Friday, 8 o'clock next week, guys. So I'll put an event on very soon on Facebook, and we'll drop you a message on the DMs as well, just to remind you. So, guys, have a lovely weekend. Look after yourselves, look after your families, and we'll speak to you soon.
HookedOnWrestling.co.uk.
There we go.